All right, guys, and welcome back. This is another episode of the Ladies' Room. So we have Miss Theronda, we have Whitney, we have Courtney, we have Desiree, and you have myself, Crystal. So the topics for tonight that we set out to talk about, we're going to have Courtney present the first one. So, Courtney, if you're ready, let's go.
Which one? Because I had said something, I had sent one thing and then I had made a suggestion about one. So do you just want me to do about the election or does it matter?
Yes, let's start with the first one because I'm pretty sure that's on everybody's mind, being that it wasn't as smooth as I guess America thought it was going to go.
Okay. So yeah, so we all know that the presidential election was held how many Thursdays ago? I mean Tuesdays ago. Two on the third. It was 2 Tuesdays ago. We know that Tuesday night when we went to bed, we didn't know who the president elect would be. And then Wednesday morning, Wednesday evening came and went. Thursday came and went. And I want to say Friday, we
Yeah.
no, Friday came and went too. And I think Saturday, because I was working, we found out Saturday. So that was a kind of big ordeal. And I don't know about you guys, but my Facebook feed was just a hot mess. You had people laughing at everybody because, the Biden supporters were laughing at everybody. And then the Trump supporters were mad because talking about they see dead people voting and stuff like that. It was just, it was a mess. And a lot of my eyes were open to a lot because a lot of people that I kind of respected, older people it kind of made me look at them a different way, how they were just really attacking um, Biden and the vice president. And it was interesting. And not only that, I felt like for almost 4 days I was watching CNN nonstop. I don't know that I watched any of my regular shows. My life revolved around CNN just because, and I can't even tell you why I did that. So I just wanted to get you guys' opinion on how you felt the election went, and if you noticed anything odd or different amongst some people that you may have seen on your Facebook or Instagram feed, and just wanted you guys' opinion on that.
I would
So,
say that I'm glad it's over. I'm glad it's done. I think that now that it's done and now that it's over, we can start the healing process of coming together. But I think that, in all honesty, I'm glad that we've got the chance to actually see how America is and how they respond and how their true opinions are. And so now that everything's out in the light, now we can, start mending and healing and things of that such. Because in all honesty, I don't know that we're going to get a true resolution within the next 6 months to a year. But I think that now people are relieved. And I think the most memorable moment of this election was when the host of CNN, I forget his name, but he broke down and cried on CNN. And I thought that that was remarkable. It was humbling, and it was humbling to see him so vulnerable but so honest. And I think that that's where a lot of Americans are at this point. Some are mad and some are relieved, but also I think that both sides just need to, say woosah and let it go. And I don't mean necessarily letting go their perspectives, but I mean letting go whatever feelings they had. And so I'm ready for the healing process to begin in this whole situation. So, yeah.
I would agree with what you said, Courtney, and also you, Theronda, about the election cycle kind of being very eye opening. There were some things that had already happened previous to that last GOTV period that didn't surprise me as much. in a way. I appreciate the fact that some of the emotions, the actions, the beliefs, and the behaviors were out in the open. Because at least I know where some people stand that maybe I wouldn't have known before. I'm be honest. I mean, there were people, I was connected with on social media who I removed, just because, my feeling is not that someone necessarily needs to agree with me politically, as much as it is that I don't want to associate myself, whether it's friendship, business, acquaintance, with someone who is okay spreading a message of hate or hurting someone just because of a difference, in religious practice or skin color or, place of origin. So I actually appreciate people being honest. We have a right to free speech as long as it's not hate speech. So that was kind of what I found to be, I guess, most interesting about all of this. Obviously, I'm happy with the results. I think that some of these recounts and lawsuits are pretty ridiculous, and obviously turning out already in Georgia, for example, to be a waste of time, waste of money. But it's not the taxpayers' money, thankfully, that's going to be spent on those efforts. So that's kind of where I stand on it. I'm glad it's over as well. It was nerve-wracking. I actually did the opposite and tried not to watch the news as much because it was exhausting. I think more than anything, mentally exhausting, like waiting on the results. Still, going into the office every day. I'm not in a position where I'm able to work from home, kind of get away from matter. I'm also in a position where I have to keep that from happening in the workspace as much because it's not really permitted or okay at work to get into those political discussions. And me and human resources, I have to make sure that people are following the rules, especially making someone else uncomfortable, the discussions. So I am glad that there shouldn't be as many of those discussions anymore.
So, ladies, Desiree said she's having connectivity issues, which you guys are aware that a lot of us have experienced that with our service. So when she's clear and free, she'll come back in. So my opinion about it, I think if it was not 2020 and a lot of distractions weren't removed, I don't know if it would have been that much focus on it. But right now, it seems like this year has opened up and showed all of the time you have in 24 hours. So I feel like this election was monitored inch by inch, second by second. And it could be, it was nerve wracking. I'm not going to say could be, it was nerve wracking because it was you waiting on pins and needle, different news stations was reporting different numbers. So when it came out that President-elect Joe Biden had won, it was one of those things where it was a Saturday. Me and my husband was out, and we was like, what? You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like where you voted on Tuesday and usually you know about it that night. It wasn't like that. It was like surprise just came up. Our president, Donald Trump, filing lawsuits. To me, it was to be expected. I don't think he takes no for an answer. So, but again, like you said, if that's his money and that's how he wants to spend it, great. As far as social media and friends and things, I have friends that have, outright told me that they voted for Trump, and they are Republicans, and I can respect that. That has nothing to do with why we are friends in the first place. I don't feel like they was disrespectful towards me or what they felt or what they said enough for me to remove them from social media, because I guess some people know where the line is and they don't cross it. I still have to work with them. I still have to, be involved with them. So an election shouldn't change that. I think that what the connection we had before that was stronger than I vote blue or you vote red, or vice versa. Um, I do think that it caused a lot of other things to come. They had a Magna rally Saturday in Washington, D.C. So, of course, you still check in to make sure that, people who are similar to the president that, want to retaliate because of something, don't get justice or get light shine on them for negative reasons. So I will say I did follow this election very closely. And like Courtney, I watched it anytime a number came through or a state came through, I was on it. I was doing a comparison. I was looking to see, what is, I watched both speeches. I thought they were great speeches. Um, I watched other countries around the world congratulate them, like looking forward to working with them. I thought that was great, except Russia. But I think that we have a lot of work to do. I don't think that it just started with he's in office. I think it's a lot of work. If somebody, it's just like moving into a place. If someone trashed it before you got there, the landlord has to do so much to get it back into condition for you to even for the next tenant to come in. So I think it's a lot of work for America to do. One of the things that I will highlight that I did see, they said that President-elect Joe Biden was trying to move towards stimulus in December for the ones that are still suffering from COVID-19 and job loss, because that's one of the things that our current president put in a balance, saying if he won again, that he would release. And I don't think that you play with someone's stability or you play with money when people are hungry and need food or need services. I don't think you hold it up as a token of, oh, you vote for me, you get this release. It's called having compassion and knowing what's right to do. So that's one of the things I think that we'll hear a lot of talk about coming up in the next coming weeks, because that's something that a lot of people have been running on. A lot of business and things have lost a lot of financial, and like I said, even families. And prior to us going live, we did talk about even with COVID and the number of cases that was reported recently, how that affect everything as far as resources, and how now stores are going back to limiting and back to cutting hours and things like that. So I think this election got a lot of stuff going on with it. So that's my take of watching it for at least the last couple of days. So Desiree, I welcome back. So we want to get your take on the election.
My social media was pretty quiet. I feel like I follow a lot of diverse people who have opinions that are respectful. So I didn't have to delete anybody. I felt like I saw more people stepping up against those that probably had posted or shared something that was just racially motivated and not politically motivated. That's really my only issue when people begin to talk about Democrat and Republican, because not many people know that there are a lot of Black Republicans in South Carolina. So, I mean, for me, I think I learned a lot this election season. I followed President-elect Joe Biden's website so that I can know what is happening, what's going on. I'm following both him, his wife, and Vice President-elect on social media too, because I have an urgency to want to know more now, so that when the next election happens, and even at the local level, I can be more impactful.
One thing I did want to add, as I was watching CNN, they did kind of showcase and highlight the amount of Black senators that were running this election. And I kind of was happy about that. I don't know that the ones that I did follow, I know many of them did not win, but just for the fact that they were able to raise money and run, I feel that was a good step in the right direction. And especially for the few that were here in the South, that shows that we have come a long way. We still have an even longer way to go, but it was just a breath of fresh air to see that, more were running, and hopefully soon our Senate, House, everything will be a little bit more full of color.
I'm also happy to see, along that same thread, Courtney, how many women are running for elected positions at the Senate level, whether it's state or, in representation in DC. And then, for last year, Virginia elected an official who is trans. She's a trans individual. So I feel like we're seeing progress, I guess we'll call it. People being a little bit more open-minded all over the country. And, whether they call themselves part of the South or not, Virginia is a part of the southeastern, United States. So I was impressed with them for that.
That's true. So now we have everyone feel on the election, the good, the bad, and the indifferent. We have another topic that we're going to slowly head into. So one of the topics that I was telling you guys, it's a social media platform. She's a comedian. I like her. She does her comedy straight on a YouTuber, and she does different acts. But one of the questions that was posed on social media, and she took it to her platform to answer, was if you guys will, because I want to make sure I said the exact one. So let me go to where I saw her. And she posed a question. All right. So it was posed and it said, ladies, would you be happy if your man told you that you did not have to work? Would you be able to be in a relationship where the man took care of everything? So that was the question that she posed.
Absolutely. I wouldn't have an issue with that. Getting older, I really don't like getting up at 8:30 anyway. So I wouldn't mind staying home, taking care of the home, being a wife.
Mm. Ladies?
I like the idea of it, but actually having to be at home every day with some kids that I probably wouldn't like half the time anyway, I couldn't do it. And maybe it's just because I don't have kids right now. But I mean, it sounds good having someone you don't have to worry about any bills. But then the other part of me knows that I want my own money. I want to have something of my own. So if something were to happen, at least I know I still can fall back on what I have. So even I might not would work full time, but I would at least have to work part time somewhere because I couldn't just be in the house every day. I couldn't do it.
I think that would be, like Desiree said, great. I I mean, I'm 34. I'm not like, old. It's not like I have a whole bunch of years of work, all my life under my belt, but I have been working since I was like 13. Even when I was like in middle school, I was babysitting for 40 plus hours a week. And I've just always been a person that's had multiple jobs. When I was teaching school, because teachers don't get paid anything, I had like 3 other part-time jobs in addition to teaching full-time. And it would be nice for someone else to take care of things for once and not have to like worry about things that come up. And yeah.
Hold on. Sorry. So the YouTuber is EJ Speaks, and the question posed, sorry, it said, ladies, would you quit your job? It said, would you quit your job? So basically you working and your man or your husband come home and say, babe, you ain't got to work, I got everything. So that was it. So you was working, but would you quit your job?
Yeah, I was like thinking in terms of my current situation. Absolutely.
Okay, great. I just want to make sure that I put it out there. Because, if a person ain't never working in life, of course they're going to be like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I've been working too much in my life. I've worked enough for like 4 people, but I'm just one, so I'm good. I feel like I deserve retirement at like 42 or something like that at this point. I am pretty tired. And like I said, it would be nice to have someone else to at least help with my bills. But to have somebody to actually take care of all of them, that would be like amazing. Like, yeah. I mean, and I volunteer enough. I don't think I wouldn't get bored or anything. I've got enough other stuff going on outside of work that I'd keep busy. Or if I don't want to keep busy, that's good too. I mean, I do say no to things sometimes just because I just don't want to do anything. I get tired of doing everything, I feel like. So, people ask you, oh, what else you got going on? It's like looking at TV because that's what I feel like doing for once. So, yeah.
So I can I'm gonna chime in right quick, Theronda, and then I'm gonna hand it over to you. You guys, me and my husband talked about this today. I have control issues, so I couldn't quit my job. Let's say we rewind things back, right? Let's say we rewind it to 2019, and he said, "Oh, babe, you can quit your job," and 2020 hit, and he loses his job. Now we out here what they call bad. I just think that I with Courtney, like I got to have, even though you may have gotten us or you have us, life is so unexpected that you can't be caught out there with your pants down. That makes sense. Like you can't be caught out there where it sounds good in luxury, but let's just be honest. Like at least if he said, "Oh, you don't have to work your full time, you can go part time," then it's different because I can always go back up to full time. You get what I'm saying? But I need to have something. I know a lot of older couples that like that, like where the wife may work part time, but it's some benefits that come with that part time job, like say health insurance and things like that. Because truth be told, we're getting older, so you got to have certain things. Certain things when you're young, you don't think about. Like you mentioned, Whitney, like retirement. A lot of times young people don't think about that. They don't think about, health insurance and things like that. But when you're older and invested, you know that your best asset is yourself. So you have to protect this. So if we're leaning on just one income, we have to take in all that inquires and hope and pray that another 2020, 2021, where you made it through 1 year, but then the next year you could get cut. So I don't know if I would do just no job. And Whitney, I hear you with the volunteer, but the volunteer is me. You looking at me and I ain't get paid for my time. So I don't know if I'll do volunteer. I don't think I can volunteer. I think that I would be working during that time. So I kind of agree with Courtney. I would have to have my own and ultimately protect us, and especially like Desiree mentioned, children. So we have kids. Y'all know kids go to the doctor more than anything. They always having something going on. We will have to have that cushion for them, because we'll have to take care of them. Sorry, Theronda, your turn.
It's no problem. I think that I would say absolutely. I've worked since I was 13, 14, had a job. I know how to keep a job, and I know when to rest and when not to rest. And I'm very, very confident in myself and my ability to be flexible. And so, if there was any chance that there need to be a second income, then I would step in. But other than that, I would clearly stay home. Um, because I've worked so much, I honestly, I pray one day I get to be a stay-at-home mother and not to do anything but take care of my kids, because I think that that's so fundamental. Taking care of your kids and making sure that the future is good. That's more important to me, because at the end of the day, they are going to be the future. They're going to be the next people in the next generation. So I would like to build a foundation for my children and things of that such. And so that entails doing schoolwork with them. That entails making sure that they know how to keep a household and things of that such. And that's work itself. And so I think that I would absolutely stop. And if there's a need for second income, then I would step in, because in all honesty, like I said, like, I'm very confident in me. I can literally stop a job one day and the next day have already a job, or I have multiple streams of income. And so it wouldn't be a big thing for me, in all honesty. So I think that the first thing I would say, absolutely, no problem.
So Theronda saying she going to the house, Whitney going to the house, and Desiree are going to the house. Me and Courtney over there. Courtney, are you gonna do part-time, or are you gonna keep your full-time?
Sorry. No, I would go, depending on what I was doing, I would go down to part-time. But if it was something that I really cared about, and like what I do now, I could see myself still doing full-time. I might be gone like once a month. One week a month going on vacation. But I would still keep my job. I have to stay busy. I can't just stay at the house.
My mother, when we was in like our teen, when we was entering our teens or whatever, she was a homemaker. So she was home cleaning and cooking and all that. And that was great. I wanted to work. So again, I saw the balance. So I saw you're home and things, and not trying to be funny. I felt like that was a closer bond, and it was a lot of the homemaking stuff that I did learn. I learned how to sew. I learned how to cook. I learned how to make creations. I mean, I learned that from watching her, and I also learned patience, because she was very patient with me. So it's certain things where you have time to, I guess, to breathe and think about it. Whereas if you're working, you just have to get stuff done. So it's like a task. No longer you sit down and think about it. So I did have the liberty of, when we was younger, she worked, and when we was older, she was at the house. And yeah, so I saw both. But I would say she came out with some bomb designs when I was in the Carnation and Prom. She made all my stuff. She made my. So I would say I saw both. But I'm telling y'all, I don't know, Courtney, there's something in my spirit that just saying that, little Jackie Ella might get on my nerve a little bit.
Exactly.
I'm saying.
See, I would have been jealous of you, Crystal, had I known you.
For real?
Mm-hmm.
You would have stayed to my house like my friends. My friends used to stay
Exactly.
to my house, because my mom used to always like bake, like, y'all, it always smelled like cupcakes and stuff.
And that's what I'm saying, like, our house was the total opposite of that. So I think my sister and I stayed with like a nanny until we were like 3 or 4. and then we got both put into like Christian school. So
What did what was it, Christian or not? What did you?
I mean, it was a private Christian school. I mean,
They had to pay money for that.
yeah. But like, I was always jealous of all my friends whose moms were at home, or whose moms were teachers. Some of my best friends' moms were teachers, so they spent the whole summer with their mom, where like I went to daycare every day of my life since I was like 4 years old. And I'll never forget. Yeah, exactly. My parents both worked 12 hours. My mom retired she was a nuclear chemist, and my dad was a nuclear turbine maintenance engineer. And so we'd never, the time that we spent together was like Saturdays and Sundays. And even on Saturdays, because you have parents that work 12 hours Monday through Friday, I remember the rule was that you're not allowed to wake them up like early, because little kids wake up early. That's just how you are when
cartoons on.
Exactly. That's just biologically your little clock. Just I can remember teaching school, and they would come in on 10 at like 7:15, and I'm just like, God, it's so early. Like, can you just sit down and eat that breakfast and please stop? Like, why? But that's just how you are when you're little. And the rule was you did not wake them up, because that was the only day they got to sleep in every week. They just wanted to sleep. And Sundays we got up for church, so they couldn't sleep late on Sundays either. So I would have killed to have, like parents at home. Like, I thought that was so cool. If mom was ever like off work and I found out that she didn't come pick me up, I'd be angry at her for like days, because I'd be like, you let me stay there at that place that I hated, and you were home that whole time, and we never get to be at home. Like, so I thought that was awesome. And then, just being busy most of the time. I mean, I was, my sister and I both, we were groomed from early on in sports year round. So we would finish one season and you're out at the next. You might have a week off in between like championships, and then you're on your next team. So it was, you got picked up from daycare and you went straight to practice, or you had to go get ready for a game, or you ate with your team, or like we were traveling somewhere, like we have to go board a bus and our bag would be packed. And I mean, it was just like go, 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 or dance competitions or whatever. So I would have like died. Like, I'd have thought that was the funnest thing ever, like if my mom was actually at home. And then my grandma had dialysis, so we couldn't stay with her because mom said that we wouldn't behave and she was tired. So
I wouldn't.
Probably. We were pretty terrible at her house every time.
But I do believe that our parents did the best that they could.
They did.
I mean, I know that you're saying like, the hands-on and stuff like that, like certain things, like when I played volleyball, like my mom was able to travel with us. And so it basically got her out the house, but she was able to travel with us. And like I said, my friends thought she was dope.
Right.
They'll be like, Chris, what your mom doing? I was like, you taking on her? Are you my friend?
Right.
Oh, she used to sneak them food, like no lie. Like Clarice will come over and she'd be like, oh, that baby's so little. And she'll put like oranges and apples for me to give Clarice. She was like, that baby hungry. And you would think that Clarice would be prideful and be like, oh, I'm good. She'd be like, give it to me.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I would have thought that was awesome. I had a friend like that. I used to walk to her house. Her mom didn't work, and I thought her mom was like super cool. She would always make us food. She would ride us around with her places. Like, I mean, we could go to my house too. After I stopped going to daycare, I had my own keys and everything I could get in. My mom
you was a what you call a turnkey child.
Yeah.
South Carolina has a lot of them.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I rode the bus unless I was at practice, and we had the rules. You couldn't open the door. You weren't really supposed to answer the phone unless you saw it was them on the caller ID, and that was how things were. Minimal use of the stove, and we had like a list of things that were supposed to be done every day before my parents got home. Of course, so you like wait till the last like 20 minutes and then get up and do it, but it was done.
They knew.
Yeah, they knew. But it was done. I mean, I know, like you said, that they did those things because that was the best. I mean, they were able to give us, things and experiences that we wouldn't have been able to have. But, when you're younger, you don't see that necessarily. You just see what your friends are doing or, what looks fun to you. So.
Yeah, I totally agree. But one of the things that me and my mom talked about right after right after my wedding was how would I raise my children? Like how, things I would pick up. And I told her, I said, hey, Mom, I got to marry. You gonna babysit? And of course she agreed because that would be her grandbabies. But unfortunately, the good Lord took her home right after I got married. So that kind of put a damper. But the thing is, the things that we spent, the time we spent, and like I said, the jewels that she dropped, they didn't go to waste. They did not go to waste. So again, I'm with Courtney. I probably would do a part-time. And for my husband, he probably want me out the house part-time, guys. I ain't trying to be funny. He probably be like, girl, go do something. You got too much energy. Because I'm a morning person. So I have like all this energy for no reason. I'm like, good morning. I'm just too happy in the morning. And he's a night owl, so he sleeps. So, you have to find that balance. So we have another topic we're going to roll into. So Courtney, can you present that topic? Unless you guys have another topic that you guys want to fit in right quick. But I just thought that was dope, that question that she posed, because most women be like, yay. And to answer her, to tell you her answer was the same as mine. She was like, I had to do part-time or something, but she was like, she's not good at working. She's good at getting fired. So if you guys got time, just check her out. It's called EJ Speaks. She is a comedian. She is hilarious. But yeah, she was like, girl, I'm not good at working, but I'm good at getting fired. So, but yeah, it's hilarious. Go support her channel. Go ahead, Theronda.
No, I was just gonna ask is that like it's funny how this conversation is like an option in a lot of Black or African American families, but in some cultures and other cultures, it's like no, a woman's gonna stay home, and women are so excited to stay home, and that's the expectation. And if she works, it's like why would you work? Because your husband is supposed to be supplying all financially, and you're supposed to just be staying home, and they're okay with that. And so, like, it's funny how when I speak with different cultures, um, anyone besides Black and African American, they're like, this is the expectation because my husband should be the provider. He should be the, head of the home, and I should be staying home. And they're okay with that. And they're financially stable and things of that such. And so I wonder like, what is something that we as a culture can do to make sure that we're financially stable and live off just one income and grow? And that's why I was wondering, like, I'll just say that out there, like 2021, Rich and I are planning to live off just one income. And the one income is going to go to the bills and things as such. The other income is actually going to go into savings and investment and retirement. But the thing is that like that's not something that in Black culture that we would do. So I think that right there is something that's been a goal for me, so we can live off one income. And after living off that one income, by the time it's our prayer that by the time we're 50, that we won't have to continue to work. We'll be, retired or happen to work part-time, and we can live in the islands. And so I think that that's one of the goals for us now. So it's funny how you mentioned like just living off one income, because I think that that's actually a plan. I think the Budgetista and other financial economics say that like, you can do it. So that's a challenge for you guys.
You're right. If I can go back when you said other cultures is expected, me and Courtney have a shared friend. Hey, Miss Smith. And every time that she and her husband conceived, she stopped working. And she stopped working until the time it was time for them to get to school. So around like 5K or whatever. But other than that, she was home being, mama bear. And she said that was something that it was agreed upon before the kids was even conceived. It was like, this is what's, and then she went back, and then, she got pregnant again. Okay, she's home. And you're right. I don't know if that is even shown in our community. I'm trying to think of, like I said, my mom worked when I was younger. It's when I got older that she no longer work, and I'm the baby. But again, I don't know if I can look back, and I'm trying to see how many generations I can go back to see that, because I saw that with my grandmother. You get what I'm saying? I saw that with my grandmother. Yeah.
That was more common, among a lot of different races and ethnicities, maybe back in like the 50s and 60s. And then part of probably what affected change was, feminism and women's lib movements, where women did want to stand on their own 2 feet and not have to like stay at home if they didn't want to. But, trends, you always see things repeat themselves throughout history. And, but I have heard that before, specifically what you said, Theronda, about like among other races, it's more common for women to stay home than in the Black community. I've heard that recently. And actually, to speak on also what you said about your plans for 2021, I grew up in church with a couple that are also from Seneca, like me, and they had 2 children and lived off of one income the entire time that I've known them. I obviously didn't know that when I was growing up, because money doesn't have the same value now as it did then, or lack thereof, I guess I should say. But basically what they were doing was both of them were working full time, and the wife's income was going straight into savings and investments, and the husband's income was paying all their bills, all their home expenses for their children. One thing that really helped them, though, in that process was that they actually lived in a home on one of their relatives' property. So they, you kind of make sacrifices. It's like, for them anyway, it was like, do you really want the house that you really want? Or do you really want to be able to like put this money away? And so I don't think that the wife was ever really super happy about where they lived, but they were able to save that money. And, she retired a few years ago. And of course, they're still doing very well and everything. I think it kind of is about priorities, and like you were saying, Theronda, like what can we do, to make those types of goals reality? I think part of it is, insurance, and like you said, investments, like you said, savings, and also not living beyond your means. It's hard to not, get the things that you want when you know that you have access to them. But if you keep your goals in mind, you can set your sights on something that'll turn out better in the end. I know for me, I'm really diligent about setting aside money for anything extra that I want, or anything extra that I'm planning. And when I do financial counseling or financial literacy education with like teenage groups, for example, one of the things that I tell them is that if you cannot afford to buy something on your debit card, then you probably just can't afford it. Because you have to pay a credit card back, and it's going to affect your credit score. And then when you actually need something, you're not gonna be able to get it. So I think, like you said, Theron, it's just a lot of sacrifice and thinking about what you can do to put yourself in a better position, and then just sticking to the plan, no matter how difficult that might turn out to be. I'm like, oh, like this Keurig is like mint green, and I really would like that for my kitchen. Then I'm like, there's nothing wrong with what I have. It's just not the color I want. So those purchases add up, when you could have put it towards something else that it could have added up to too. I agree.
I think in our community, we need to learn the language of money. It seemed like it's not taught in our community very early on. Um, I know in college they teach like courses like when you're about to leave, and that's for you to pay back them student loans. So they teach you like you know, like for real, they teach you like that when you about to leave. It's like an exit course. You get what I'm saying? But you got to think about it. If you're in your fourth year about to graduate, look how many years prior to that you could have had that, you know what I'm saying, that education and things like that. But I do think that a lot of people, especially in our community, they do not know money, the language of money, and it's foreign, and so it's a disconnect because if you don't understand something, you stay away from it or you abusing it, not knowing that you're doing what's wrong. And I feel like it's the education thing. I feel like it's the education piece that's missing and it's not taught. Um, for example, the PS5 dropped. And I literally went because, you know, me and my husband is all into technology. So we went and we've been researching this thing before it dropped. And I told my husband, I said, now look at the price of this device. And it's just an upgraded from the 4. So I said, look at the price of this device. So on the original website, it was telling you like the breakdowns, like how much for this console, how much for this with this, how much for these headphones to go with it, this and that, right? And the prices did not seem to it scream. $380, $50, $45. You get what I'm saying? And people had them purchase that. And then if you go on the websites where they're available, they're selling for $800 to $1,200. The same device that was released and they only paid $380. So one person who don't speak money would be like, okay, well, I need it, I got to have it. So I'm willing to pay that upcharge to get it. Where the average person, yeah, which the person who knows money will say, is this a good investment? And what can I get off the return of this? If I'm spending $380 on this, then what is my return on that? If it's just going to sit in my house and collect dust till the PS6 come out, then it's not a good investment. But again, if you don't know or speak the language, it'll be nothing to someone to get that. And then now you have a $400 device sitting in your house. Or if you pay the upcharge, now you have a $1,200 device that was originally $400 that's sitting in the house until the next device is released. So
well, then you have those, like you said, that don't speak that language who would purchase that before they paid bills. You know, I mean, $1,200, that's somebody's rent. You know, I I hate to hear those types of things, but I've definitely seen it before. I was just like, why? Okay. Like, you know, everybody knows a couple people probably or knows of a couple people who ask people to borrow money, but then have a PS5 or New Jays. And you're like, okay. So
I think one thing we have to also be mindful of is, and I'm going to say it because I'm a part of the millennial generation, we're at an extreme disadvantage because of student loans. A lot of our parents told us to go to school because it was going to give us a better advantage for work. And I don't think that I'm better off than anybody who didn't go to college at this point because I know people who make much more than I do. So I think sometimes it's a matter of never having the money to necessarily. I don't think all people live above their needs. I think they just don't have the income to live even within their needs. So they're consistently always struggling. So I think as a community, we just have to do a better job of giving one another an opportunity to advance and not necessarily just look at ourselves and how we can lift ourselves up and then not look back for the next person that's coming behind us.
so I excuse me, but I do have another question. Um well, pose another question to you. So when you say that it's not enough, you're saying like with the educational piece, so basically they left college and now they have this loan on them. So you feel like so I guess was it the miseducation of going to college, or the loan situation?
I would say both, because as a parent, if you couldn't afford for your child to get an education, then you should not have encouraged that education. See, my mama never would send me any place that she would not be able to cover the bill for. Just think about sending your child with a family member over the weekend. I'm sure your parents wanted to ensure you had something in your pocket to make sure that you were taken care of. Unfortunately, we have some parents who just send their children to school and they struggle. And then they get out of school and they struggle and they have a degree, but they may never make the amount that that paper even costs to print that degree on. And those are conversations that I have with my mom very frequently because I come from a very educated family. My grandmother has a college degree. So we've had to have conversations to help her understand what you paid for college is not what I paid to go to college. So you have to bear with me. And sometimes I think the older generation is assuming that we aren't doing certain things because we just don't want to do it and not understanding we can't afford to do it. I've gone to a lot of family gatherings where I'm being told, well, when I was your age, I had this, I was doing that. And my response always is, well, at my age, you didn't have debt. Because I mean, some of them didn't go to school. They went into the military, or when they did, go to school, it was after the fact. So I think sometimes it can just be very, discouraging. And now that I've gone to college and I got a degree, I've never told anybody you should go to college. I always ask, can you afford to go to college? Take another route. You don't want to end up how I ended up, because I'm very grateful for where I am. But at the same time, I hate that much of what I make has to go back to paying a loan. And that's on top of my parents paying and me having scholarships. That's just how much my education costs.
Mhm. We had me and my husband had a discussion in reference to that. My nephew is graduating high school actually early, and he registered for school. And the first thing he was saying was school wasn't for him, and so we had to get down to the definition of what he meant by that. Because when you hear that, me and my husband heard a lot of things in that, right? We heard um, I don't think I'm right for school. I don't think I'm worthy of school. I don't know what to do the registration to get into school. We heard a lot of things in that that breakdown. And so we sat down and talked to him about it. And come to find out, because he is in the route to graduating earlier, he's also in this program where they will pay for his education. So we had to explain to him money on the table. Whereas most people wouldn't have that opportunity, he can take that opportunity to make it work for him. So once, Jackson is an educator at heart. So once he sat down and walked him step by step and showed him what it was, now he have chosen a school that is for him. It is a 2-year school. It's not a 4-year school, but he will be going at no cost. And so with that, we were showing him that he would be advanced, because whereas one of his college mates one of his high school mates would have went to school for 4 years, you out 2 years earlier, no debt and working. So when they graduate, you basically their supervisor. So it's basically setting them up to see, because sometimes they can't see right in front of them. But I would agree with you. Well, I am going to agree with you, Desiree. If you can afford it, you should go. But if it's one of those things where it's going to be more of a burden than a blessing, you can't do it out of because your family feels or whatever, because your family name not on that dotted line.
I agree too. I know I wanted to go to college because the fields that I was interested in working in, you had to have a degree for. So that was why I wanted to go to college. But it was definitely disheartening, especially in school. you know, when you see a lot of your friends who receive financial aid getting those refund checks, or, you know, not having to pay for stuff, and you definitely have what feels like $1 million in student loan debt, only to go into like public service that doesn't typically even pay a lot. And, you know, I remember thinking when I graduated and I sat down with a financial aid counselor, because they didn't offer courses on, you know, like you were saying, Crystal, paying back those student loans. I actually just made an appointment because I was like, I need to understand what I'm responsible for, when my payments start, how long this is going to take me in the grand scheme of things to pay. And I walked out of that appointment and had like a meltdown. Like I had like a panic attack in my car, and I was just like, oh my God, I'm going to be like 70 years old. Like I was like, I wish I had never come to this stupid school. That was why I called my mom and told her that. And she was just like, you know, first of all, chill out. But, you know, it's not, and since then, you know, I have gotten to the point where it doesn't upset me anymore. But, you know, in my head, I'm constantly off and on like, okay, this is plan A for paying this off. This is plan B. This is plan C, you know, and then you start like researching loopholes. And I mean, because the thing is, I don't expect anybody to erase my debt for me. I'm the one that, like you said, Crystal, I signed on that dotted line. I get that. But it would be great to get some help with that. It is discouraging. And it's discouraging when, you know, you get into the workforce and you meet people that you're working alongside who are getting paid a lot more than you because of who they know when they didn't even go to school, you know, or they have fewer years of experience than you, and are getting paid more. And you're like, wait, what? Like, why? Like, why did I even bother? But then it's like it's a catch-22, because it's like, well, if I didn't go, I wouldn't even be in this job. So damn if you do, damn if you don't.
I watch YouTube. Go ahead, Courtney.
One thing I wanted to add too is I wish that somebody would have took the time to just talk about different career options, because we hear all the time like, oh, you can go to college and do whatever you want to do, but doing whatever you want to do clearly doesn't pay the bills. There are certain fields that you know are going to always be in demand. Anything in the medical field, a nurse, a doctor, lab tech, or something like that, those are always in demand. IT is always in demand. Engineers are always in demand. But you don't hear about that. You just, you know, like everyone else is saying, your parents tell you to go to school, but they don't really sit down and let you know that, okay, you want to be a teacher, but you're not going to be making the amount of money that you think that you would make. So I have been telling my cousins, definitely, who are growing up and are going to college in the next couple of years, like, you need to pick a field that is lucrative. I feel like when I did undergrad, everybody was trying to do psychology. That was the thing when I was in undergrad. And I would like to know how many people are doing something with their psychology degree. If they're not pregnant, having babies, I think they may be social workers, which is nothing wrong with that. But we're paying back loans that we probably will never be able to pay off. So I just think that for the younger generation, helping them understand that they need to be in a field that is going to always be in demand, because that's the only way. If you're going to take student loans, that's the only way you're going to be able to pay them off.
I have a question. Has anyone ever talked about, like, because I know in my family it has never occurred, but has anyone ever talked about like financial planning and like actually saving for your children's college? I'm wondering that because I had to do my FAFSA and everything myself. I went to college and graduate school completely through student loans and grants and things of that such. And so as I did that, and I was like, and now I have over $100,000 of loans, I was like, I don't want my children to do that. And so I started like researching, I started doing things, and with the help of others, like, budgetista and things of that. And I realized that like in my culture, in my community, um, financial planning and financial literacy and saving for college was never. But as I realized that, like some of my colleagues and other cultures and things of that stuff, they're like, "Oh yeah, we had a we had a trust fund for that," and they weren't like rich. They were like, "Yeah, you know my parents did that Gerber fund things, and then like it,
Yeah,
like
that's what I was gonna say.
this thing," and I was like, "Oh,
Yeah,
must be nice." And so like now that I have that information, I'm going to share it, but also I'm going to take that information and run with it as well. But I'm wondering, like, I didn't learn any of this, and I didn't even know these things existed until I got out of school, and then started asking questions regarding that. So this is just a little plug. If you know anyone who are going into school, if you know anyone who needs that financial literacy, help a sister out, help a brother out. I think that there are so many platforms and so many resources right now that, even if they don't have technology, even if they don't have social media, I think that you should be a resource as well. And that's why I keep asking these questions, and just to see if does my community know these questions or these answers? Is there any resources that I can help them with? I, Dave Ramsey, I love Dave Ramsey's zero-based budget, but I have never heard of Dave Ramsey in my life until I went to church. And I was like, what's who?
now
And
Dave is a little extreme though.
Yeah, he is.
He's a little extreme.
That's why I say budgetista first. But I think that again, Dave is extreme. But let me just tell you this: I'm quickly testifying. I was not one. I thought money was like, ugh. I was a free spirit, didn't do anything with my money and things of that such. But I realized that once I started actually to do the Dave Ramsey system, and combination with the little budgetista together, honestly, I was tithing more. I was saving more. And I realized that this system actually does work if you put it to work. Like you said, it's extreme. You have to be very, very disciplined to do it. But there are other avenues and there are platforms that actually help and give simple, basic tips. And it's easy to follow through with that. But I think that you have to know, someone has to tell you that first, because in all honesty, I did not know any of this. And so I think that there's my plug. Please ask. And if you don't know anyone, YouTube it and ask someone, pick up a book, because it's so important, because we really, and especially in the Black community, we need to really be financially sound. And my second plug is, I know that everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, but I am a firm believer that if you have a gift, if you have a talent, and you're getting paid 50% of what you would be getting paid 100%, take the time to invest in yourself and go for that 100% rather than that 50%. I know for me, I was working in mental health clinics and I was getting paid 45-50% of the work. Once I actually smartened up and I was like, wait, hold up, you're getting paid what for my work? And all I'm doing is coming to work and working for your name? No, that's not gonna happen. So I started to get smart and I started to research and do it. And now I'm getting paid 100%. And now that when I go and I do work for the community agencies, I know what they're getting paid and I know what I need to be getting paid to stay there. So I think that was my plug. Just know your worth. That's it. Bye.
I think that was an awesome plug.
Mhm.
because I do feel like all of us have gifts, and we should be getting paid for those things. I would go back to say, what the information. A lot of times those things were shared, but we just did not take it. I remember bills being paid. I remember cash being handed out to pay bills, and I remember the bill money be sitting on the bills because of one of the things that Dave Ramsey said, which is old school that my parents did. If you have to give your money, oh, that thing hurt. When you have to, if you ever work 100, you'll cry. So if you have to pay, feel it leave, then it's you value it more versus sliding a card and things like that. Um, also, it was also shared about, um, you know, I've watched several YouTube stations where people have literally paid off 80,000, 90,000, $100,000 of student loans, and they show you step by step what they did. They tell you about the sacrifices that they did, how they moved it to get it off them, because everyone knows that the lender, you know, the borrower is the slave to the lender. So that's one of the things and the principle that David stands on. And so you want to move those things. I just think that sometimes we have the information. Sometimes it's the lack of information, and sometimes we have the information, but we don't have the discipline that it takes to get those things off. With the public service program that Whitney was referencing when she was teaching, the public service program, you have to give 10 years of them to them for them to do a loan forgiveness. I only heard of one or two people that actually did it and they forgave them. And they even talked about some of the hardship that they try to give them to say, oh, you didn't have your paperwork for 10 years, or you didn't do da da da. So it's always something behind it because you're trying to forgive that. And to be honest with you, if you're in a field such as public service, and I might just be on the soapbox and I might need to step up a little bit, but if I have to give you 10 years of my life, when the average person is retiring at 28 or 25 years, so I done gave you that time for you to forgive these student loans, but you're only paying me a fraction of what you're about to forgive, but I done dedicated that time to you. See how offset that is. Pay more than you could pay the student loan.
Yeah.
I'm off my soapbox. So education is the key to being debt free. So you guys, it is 8:54. We're gonna close out the podcast at 9:15 with everything. But do you guys have anything else to say on the topic before we move to the next topic, or do you guys want to say the next topic for another podcast?
I say we move on to the last topic and close out here.
All righty, Courtney, you're up.
I just wanted to share. I know I had shared it in the group text. Ricky Smiley on the morning show. I don't know how. I don't even follow him like that, but they had posted something on the 10th talking about our beloved Pastor John Gray, and how he had on the 6th, November 6th, had made a formal apology to his wife on his Instagram page. It was a very, very long Instagram post, basically apologizing for what he's done, apologizing and explaining why he had to step down from the church and things like that. And I just thought it was interesting. I shouldn't be surprised, but this the backlash of the backlash of what, of course, Black Twitter and Instagram was saying. One thing that really caught me off guard, someone had said John Gray is just Offset in a pulpit. We know Offset is Cardi B's, I believe now husband. I don't think they're getting a divorce anymore. So it was just interesting, and I don't know that I would have said that, but I just want to know. I'm just curious as to what took him so long to publicly apologize. And I just wonder, I don't know that an essay on Instagram is going to help or change anything. I'm a big person about change, and you can say and cry and apologize all you want to, but if your actions aren't changing, what you wrote are just words on the paper. So I just don't really
Now,
know or
Courtney,
understand why he did.
I do believe that he did publicly come out. He said it in front of his congregation when he stated that he was stepping down to work on intense counseling. So he came out publicly and he said it in front of his congregation, and he said that he was stepping down to get help to work on him and his wife. Now that post, I think that was just him highlighting her
She got a
on a
magazine.
yeah, a magazine cover. Whoa magazine. I think that was him highlighting, and but he did come out and said something when it first happened. But you girls, yeah, come on.
I guess
So
real quick.
go ahead.
I guess real quick. He really was going into depth about things, I guess, on there, and what he gave before was kind of just I don't know. I really don't know what I should be expecting, but I just feel like that should have came early. That in depth apology should have came earlier if he wanted to do something public.
And I guess for me, I don't feel like he has to explain anything publicly because that's their personal business, is their marriage. And I think, unfortunately, he allows social media to have a part in it because his wife has not posted anything publicly about, the disrespect, because although she's a victim in the situation, she's still being victimized by the public. And I just think I think as a culture and a community, and especially the church community, we are so invested in the negative aspects and pulling out what somebody just does wrong that it can just overshadow what we're actually supposed to be after when we're going to church or when we are looking towards certain people. And I understand that he's a pastor, um, and I had to deal with it in my own way because that is my church. But at the same time, that's not my husband. So however she chooses to deal with him in their marriage, I just have to respect that position. But me personally, I don't want to be a part of it. I don't feel like that has to be a continued conversation in the church or on social media, because you kind of are giving people an opportunity to kind of dig and create more chaos on a person that's not saying anything. And it's just, I guess it's crazy to me the backlash that she's getting, because she's being silent, then she's being viewed as, oh, she weak, and why she ain't leaving him? He done did this many times, when most people stay at a job and they done been treated like trash for 10 years. So we can't pick and choose what we're gonna take, but we want other people to just, leave and walk away. So whatever they do, they do. Me personally, you don't have to tell me every Sunday that you got your family back. We're working on a marriage. That's not none of my business. Give me the word and let your focus be there. Build your house in your house. Don't bring your house to church. That's just where I am.
Which is difficult to do when you're in public life.
But do we do that to all pastors? No. I think it's because of his platform. Because he can get attention, his name is going to get people to click. So that's where the focus is going to be at, because he's not the first pastor. You have Pastor Jamal Bryant. He has other children, but people aren't running after that. They're highlighting him with the whole him being boots on the ground with the Black Lives Matter movement and having been in St. Louis. But nobody's not talking about the fact that he allegedly has another child right now out there. So I think we kind of pick and choose. I try not to be that type of person. I really don't read if Pastor John does post something in reference to his wife, that's not something that I want to see. If a blog site posts it, I'm not going to listen to it and see it because I'm trying to separate the two. And I don't want to emotionally involve myself in something that has nothing to do with me because she's made her choice.
Ladies, I think everybody has their personal opinion. Again, watching the videos, attending the church and things like that, when a person is in a certain position, things are highlighted for them. I'm pretty sure they're well aware when they take that job in their position. They're well aware of that when they're doing something they ain't got no business. I mean, that's just what it is. It's no difference when the church was highlighted when it was taken to court. It's the same thing. That's just people want to know what's going on, and especially if you're paying tithes and offering, you want to know if this person can be trusted. If you can be trusted with my soul, you can be trusted with my funds and things like that. So sometimes it is hard to separate the two with that going on. And I think that in this time, a lot of people that are in positions like a pastor, advisor, and things like that, a lot of them unfortunately has crumbled under the pressure of being in those positions. Um, I saw an article today where a wife went live, a first lady went live in North Carolina, and she said she was tired of hiding and that her husband had left the house since August, and he was running the streets of North Carolina with other men. Now that's what she told the congregation, and I'm pretty sure it'll be a lot of division in that church. I'm pretty sure it's a lot of confusion going on. But at that point, she felt like that was the only outlet to let everyone know what was going on, because I'm pretty sure if he's missing or whatever, those questions will get posed and asked because people are curious about things. But again, when you're in those positions, I think that that comes with it. I'm pretty sure Bishop T.D. Jakes is one of the persons that stated, when he was moving up, how when he was driving a regular car with no no floorboards, people was not checking for him. But when he was over an establishment as big as the Potter's house, every move, every step he made or his family made, everybody wanted to say it. Everybody wanted to do it. Everybody wanted to be concerned. And so I do feel like when you put yourself in those positions, and if we move it away from the pastor, let's say we say Beyonce and Jay-Z, it's the same thing, because they're in that position. People would, say things. I think people have a desire to see good and evil, and they got to decide. They have a position to label things bad and good. But in the foundation of their marriage and things like that, that is something that they need to work on together, and they have to work on outside of the eye of the public, because again, that's one of the things that is very hard to do, very difficult to do. But I saw the post, I saw the picture. The picture is beautiful. Now, girl is slaying on that picture now. But I feel like what he said on the picture, he could have said in the comfort of their home. Like he should have said, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't tell the world you sorry. Talk to me. Tell me in our counseling sessions or whatever they decide to do that in the privacy, because it's just like a peace lily. It only grows in the dark. Like sometimes you have to have that peace away from the light and away from the public. And I do agree with you, Desiree, when you say that she's the victim and it's not giving her time to come. It's not giving her time to heal. It's not giving her time to get things together, because unfortunately, she's mama bear. And a lot of times as women, especially if you mama bear, you can say whatever you want about me, but not my babies. Like, you have to protect them because they're innocent. And, the world is very cruel. So I mean, I agree with, keeping certain things off in the foundation of marriage and things like that. But in that position, it's going to be talked about. But I do as I should. When it came out, I did pray for them. Marriage is hard. I don't know why people see the wedding day, but marriage is work. So I did lift up a prayer for them and their family and protect them, because you never want anyone to get hurt, especially
Yeah,
in situations
it's
like that.
it's not that I don't think that it should be talked about, because I do understand they're in the public eye. But at the same token, we're talking about their marriage. I saw no follow up about the church and the lawsuit now ending. So,
Yes, it was.
but I'm talking about on Black social media platforms. I hadn't seen that on Black social media platforms, not ones that I follow, that are so heavily involved in his marriage. And I say that to say that I think sometimes our own community are so invested in tearing each other down that I felt like that was a victory, because that says that something on his part or on the church behalf had been truthful and honest to where it ended in this way, versus us still talking about him and his marriage. Let's get on something else, because that was big too. And I guess that was just for me when I saw it. I saw it on the news, but I'm like, dang, I look at these other little gossip sites, they talking about that type of drama, but nobody said anything about the church and the lawsuit being ended. I'm sure maybe some other platforms did, but I'm just speaking specifically to two that I know have been heavily posting about his marriage.
I feel like I have a question. So I read the post. Was this a reaction of somebody else's post? Or was this something that he just posted?
I think he just posted it.
Yeah, he just posted
I
it.
don't think. Yeah, I think he posted it with the picture.
Yeah. So, because that
Yeah,
what
I think he
concerns me,
posted
I'm
the
not
picture.
gonna lie. I pray for their marriage, and I pray for whatever, um, his wife decides. But I think that we have to look at the big picture. He is in public eye, and if he's in the public eye and he's in this healing process, when you're in this healing process, you're focused on that healing piece, and that should be your primary focus. So I'm wondering, what is it, and what was your motivation for putting this post out? You know that your wife has been silent. You know that you guys are currently in therapy.
Yeah.
Do that in therapy. um, you don't have to always, I understand you're in public eye, but you don't always have to display that. And what was the intention that you had from this post? Because from my understanding, this has been, he's in the healing process. Stepped down from the church. He said he was going to focus on his marriage and healing. But this does not seem like he's focusing on his marriage and healing, because he knows that he has he's a public figure. He knows that people are going to react to this. What was his purpose of doing this? Like, that's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering, what was the purpose of doing this? Because your wife hasn't said anything. She seems like she's taking it, and leaving it at therapy. And so, were you intended to prompt her to do something, to feel some type of way? Did you want some sympathy? What was the response from this? And that's what I'm wondering, because I just feel like he should be focusing on his healing process, and foundational things. And foundational things does not include Instagram. So, like, I'm just wondering, why was that one? But then also, I feel as if that there's a piece missing, because he speaks about like healing and things like that. But I feel like it's one thing to show, but it's another thing to tell. What are the fruits of your actions? What are the fruits that you bear? And it doesn't seem as if, for me, I don't know if it's just me, because I don't, it doesn't seem as if that he has fully um, been invested solely in this healing process. I could be wrong, but when you're in this healing process, you try to, diffuse any distractions or anything that may come against you, because you know that while you're in this healing process, the devil's going to contempt you. You know that you're in a vulnerable state. And so put on the whole armor. And that this post does not seem like the whole armor. And so I'm just wondering, as maybe it's just me because I don't have all the information, but I'm wondering what his intention was from this post. Did he want sympathy? Did he want, what was the intention of this?
I don't even think it was any, most of the, people are negative. So it wasn't like a positive, even though the words was spoken positive or intention behind it from him was positive. But, people took that and ate that thing up. It was like, but
it's being too invested in their own personal. If Jackson wanted to apologize to you about something, I don't think that it would be my place to dissect what he said to you, even if he made it public. And maybe he made a public post because he knew at that point he was going to be back preaching, because that following Sunday he's officially back in the pulpit. So maybe that's why he made the decision to finally post, because all other posts had just been kind of like church related and the comments had been off and stuff like that. I just hope that at some point another something else will take the view of all of this that's going on. Because for me, what's most annoying is if you do not agree with what he's doing or how he's pastoring, you don't have to be a part of the church. You don't have to be, you're not invested in the ministry. Yeah. So don't harass or nitpick people that choose to go to the church. And I think that's kind of that's more annoying to me. If that's where I choose to be fed, if that's where I'm being nourished in my spirit, then let me do me. Don't make it just like the whole political thing. We don't have to discuss where we're going to about church as long as we get in the same word, because ultimately that's just a building. And while he may be my pastor, I still got to know the word for myself.
The only thing I could think of, I'm sorry, Crystal, go ahead.
No, I was saying I agree. What you think?
I agree too. The only thing I could think of in response to your question, Theronda, was, and this is what I was thinking of really when I first read his apology, is that sometimes some people, apart from any influence on social media or influence from what other people are saying about him on social media and his wife, sometimes I think some people, and this is probably an old school thought process too, because I've heard a lot of like older people, like my parents' age and older, say that if you embarrass somebody in public, you should give them a public apology. Maybe that's just his intention. I mean, like, because this whole thing has been very public unfortunately for her. I feel really bad for her because, I know how that feels to go through an embarrassing breakup or, relationship situation, like where you feel like other people, and in her case, she doesn't feel like other people are aware. I had been through that before where I was like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. You feel like everybody's talking about you, especially when people from church do know the situation, depending on how close you are with your church family and how big that church family is or small. And I'll never forget being told by a lady from church, she said, because I told her, I said, I'm just really embarrassed right now. And I don't want to talk about it because I was like, I have it in my head. I don't necessarily want to discuss it with anybody else because it is embarrassing for me. And she said, you shouldn't be embarrassed. She said, you didn't do anything wrong. And I said, yeah, I said, I hear what you're saying and I appreciate you encouraging me, but that doesn't feel less embarrassing because like it, sometimes you're put into a situation that you didn't necessarily bring yourself into, but you're put into a situation where someone embarrasses you and it's public. And out of that situation, I do wish I had received a public apology because I felt like I was publicly embarrassed, at least within those circles that we were part of, And that's how I felt a few years ago. Now I don't care, honestly. But maybe that was the only thing I was like, maybe that's what he was intending, is just trying to like publicly apologize for publicly embarrassing her. But I do feel bad for her, because people are making light of her situation, and also I feel like they're judging her for her potential decision or not. She hasn't, like, her not speaking to me kind of feels like she hasn't necessarily made a decision, and she should be allowed the time to think about what she wants to do without
I
people
think she's healing.
picking at her. Yeah. I'm like,
She
it's
did.
not your husband, so who cares?
That's what she doing.
I'm like, I'm different to it. I'm like, she has to do what she feels is right for her, whether I like it or not. I don't pay no bills over there.
Now I will say this, because I feel like I have to be honest about it. I do feel like because the sermon he started today, he started a new series called Hunger Games, and he had food up there. And food was one of the things, like it was different choices of food. And he was like, which one do you like? Fried chicken, steak, enchiladas from Mexican or whatever. And then he had empty plates, like what is it that is, what is, what are you dealing with? And then he had dirt on the plate, because he was saying this stuff that he didn't discuss, that you might be dealing with. So that was a sermon, and I just was like, isn't food what got you in trouble the first place? But again, I think that plays towards him playing towards what's going on. And I think that as much as we know the pastor as a comedic pastor at times, I think that comes off a little immature. And I think that you lose people in that transition, because a joke is only a joke if the audience gets it. You get what I'm saying? So I would say that was the sermon that I heard today. That's the new series that he's doing called Hunger Games. I think the intent is there. With the apology and things like that, again, I lift them up, pray for them. That's a decision she has to make. Like Theronda said in the group, fornication is one of those things that does warrant for a divorce. But again, that's between the two people that's in the marriage. But we will hear more about this, especially because he is who he is. So we will see a lot of this. We will see a lot of things come through. Like I said, with the pastor in North Carolina, that was a lot for the first lady to get up and say, especially to the congregation. It was a lot, but a lot of times I think it takes a level of getting up there and being transparent and telling your truth, even if it hurts. So, ladies, it is 9:19, and I told you guys I was going to get you off at 9:15, but we ran over time. But that's a good thing, because we was in depth talking about the topics that we posed. And one of the things is I'm glad you guys was able to share. Courtney, did you have anything else to discuss since this was your topic? I don't want to leave you out before we close out.
No, we're good.
Okay.
Thank you
All
for
right.
discussing those topics, Courtney. You were really good today.
Thank you.
Great job. Great job. So we're gonna have everybody tell where we can be found on our social media and things like that before we end out. So if you guys want to start, Theronda, go to the top.
So again, my name is Theronda Myers. Unfortunately, I am not on social media at this time. I will continue to let God pour into me. However, you can email me. You can go to www.abidebyme.com and send just a hi message. Thanks.
Whitney, you're next on the screen.
Okay. Again, my name is Whitney Wright. I can be found on Facebook and Twitter under the same first and last name, WRIGHT. And I bring independent contract consulting in the areas of human resources and media communications.
All right, Ms. Desiree, you're next.
I can be found on social media platforms at _another breed.
Ms. Courtney.
I can be found on Facebook at Courtney Mucklin. And I did want to add, just to kind of pat myself on the back, next month I will be doing a debate for the National Coalition of STD Directors. There's a STD conference that will be December 1st through the 4th, and I will be doing a debate live. So, well, it won't be live. Obviously, it'll be via Zoom, but I kind of am excited about that opportunity to get my face seen and being able to just do good things for the STD field. So,
Oh,
thank you guys.
congrats, girl.
Thank
You know I'll be there supporting. You know I'll be supporting you.
Thank you.
And I am Crystal. I can be found on social media at Crystal Salon. And I can also be found at letsmakeitcrystal.com. That is Instagram. You can also find us working behind the scene on Winston Lugoshi. And you can also find us on Mr. TJ Talks on YouTube. That's where everything is recorded. So we're going to say goodnight, guys.
Hi, good night.